With the recent release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, I have had an insatiable urge to play one of these two games again. This may be because the new game doesn't seem satisfactory for me, but hey, that's for another video. I've been a huge fan of the Tony Hawk games ever since I loaded up the first Pro Skater on our old family Nintendo 64. While that ancient old artifact is collecting dust in our garage, luckily the PS2 I owned lasted me a long while. Enough to where my pre-teenager self could experience the absolute euphoria of an Indy 900 or a kickflip backflip. When it comes to the game I'll be talking about for this mini retrospective, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was released under Activision in 2001, being developed by Neversoft, the company behind the previous two Pro Skater games. Neversoft were the head of development for the Tony Hawk games all the way up until Tony Hawk's Proving Grounds. But we're not here to talk about those games, maybe another time. But I have under 30 minutes to discuss why Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is rad, sick, and era-defining, so let's not waste any more time. When it comes to pop culture in 2001, well, I wasn't alive. But from what I can gather, the skateboarding craze was on the rise. Technology was not as big or grand or addicting as it is now, so people would have to go outside and actually find things to do. Whether that consisted of staring at the sun until their eyeballs melted out of their sockets, or riding a piece of wood with 4 wheels on it that has an edgy design. The skateboarding community rose due to influential figures like Tony Hawk, Rodney Mullen, and many more, with the Hawkster being influential by the fact he helped create an iconic moment in pop culture with his Indy 900 in the X Games, as well as the fact that he was pretty dang good at what he did. Rodney Mullen was one of the pioneers of skateboarding, the godfather some call him. He created some of the most important moves associated with a skateboard. The ollie, the kickflip, impossible, heel flip, you name it, he probably created it. You've probably recreated it with your thumb and an analog stick. Home-style VHS footage would be the go-to for many skaters. Professional and amateur skaters would record their tricks and cool combos for the love of the sport, and to capitalize on the ever-growing market skateboarding was becoming. I think it's also important to mention how a lot of the skate spots these skaters would film at were popularized through their videos, and this in turn inspired many maps in the Pro Skater games. And I feel like it's important to mention the prominence of Burnside, located in Portland, Oregon, which was popularized due to being a skater-built park. Let me emphasize the importance that this was skater-built by the community of skaters in Portland, Oregon. I may be repeating myself, but that's just so cool to me. It apparently started off as an illegal project, but eventually the city basically said, screw it, let them shred. It shows how strong the community was, how impactful and powerful they could be if they worked as a group. And the universal theme? Skateboarding. Burnside is featured as an unlockable map in this game, and history behind it is just so cool to me I had to bring it up somewhere. If you want a good video to watch discussing the creation and importance of Burnside, I'll have a link down in the description to one. Neversoft had previously capitalized on the video game market side of things for skateboarding, and created the holy grail of these games, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater IP. They made and released 1 and 2, and phew-wee, aren't those some fun games. Obviously, they haven't aged very well due to more recent mechanics not being included in these games, and the graphics were quite limited due to being limited to 5th gen consoles, but Pro Skater 3 kept the theme going of improving on the last, making this game the ultimate Pro Skater experience, all on a new generation of consoles too. Just a heads up, I only cover the 6th generation console version of this game for this video. All of the footage you see is from the PS2 version. There are other videos out there that discuss the 5th gen console version of this game, so definitely check those videos out. I'll leave my favorite one in the description as well. When you start up the game, you enter the skate shop, which acts as the main menu of the game. From here we can toggle our designated options. Whoa, what? A demo? Sean Palmer snowboarding. Let me check this out.
One eternity later.
Yeah, I got a bit distracted. Anyways, the game modes to choose from are the career mode, single session, free skate, co-op, and there's even a park editor which I didn't dive into for this video, but I do remember this when I was a kid. Creating your own park is cool, I guess. The game gives you a few tools and objects you can use to make your park. However, it's definitely not as in-depth as many other creative things are nowadays. There are also pre-made parks you can also load up and play in if you really want to. When it comes to the free skate mode, it's cool if you just want to skate around and explore the levels in this game. But you are forced to play through the career mode fully, all the way through once if you want to play through all of the levels in free skate. The same applies for single session. It's a mixture of career mode and free skate. You can pick a level you've unlocked through career mode, and you'll be able to skate around under a time limit. No goals, just skating for 2 minutes straight. Co-op or 2-player mode in this game is a welcome feature. It's a couch co-op mode that gives you a total of 6 different and fun game modes to play with in any of the maps you've unlocked. You can free skate, which is a basic option but fun messing around with. There's trick attack, which is basically getting a higher score than the other player under a set time limit. We have my personal favorite, graffiti, where you'll combo on different objects, and when you land the combo, you can claim them for your own color. The higher your combo is when you touch the object is the score the other player will have to beat when trying to take one of your graffitied objects. There's the slap game mode, where you can skate around and try to slap the other player, which in turn knocks them off of their board, and the player with the most slaps wins. You can also play a game of horse, and there's a King of the Hill mode. I enjoyed playing all of these game modes, and it was a delightfully fun time to skate around with my older brother, who introduced me to this game when I was a kid. While I won't be talking about network play for this video, I can imagine back in the day this was a huge feature. Sadly, I can't experience it to its fullest potential right now, therefore a brief mention is all it's going to get. And when it comes to career mode, well, I'll talk about that here shortly. But first I want to discuss the gameplay, as well as some changes from the previous Pro Skater game, or some new additions added to this game. When it comes to the actual gameplay of the game, there isn't too much of a difference from the previous Tony Hawk games. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. To ollie with your board, you press X. To do a flip trick, you move the analog stick in a certain direction and hit square. The same applies for grab moves, but you hit and hold circle to do a grab move. To spin, you can move the analog stick, or you can press and hold either one of the left or right bumpers. The camera is moved by the other analog stick. To grind, you jump and hit triangle on a rail, you know, all the basic stuff. It's still here, it's pretty boring when I explain it. If you want a professional's input, well, this game has a tutorial voiced over by Tony Hawk.
I see you found the tutorial. While skating, press or hold left or right to turn.
Yeah, I think he'll know more about how to skate than I would. You should listen to him. Some new mechanics were added to this game to ultimately make the gameplay the best it's felt in the series so far. We have the revert, which you can perform after landing on a ramp. This can allow you to carry a combo into a manual, making combos much more fluid and satisfying. Long live the days where you have to end your long-winded combo after you pull out a sick special move by flying up a ramp. The future is now, old man. There's also better spinning controls, but I actually have nothing to compare it to as I haven't played the previous Tony Hawk games in forever, and have no good way to play them currently. You don't count. Apparently spinning used to make you automatically do a 180, which I don't remember very well when I used to play the games, but how disastrous. In this game, you can freely spin without that forced animation, and it feels so nice, so fluid, so wavy, dude. If you happen to be someone who enjoyed this feature, you can enable it in the options menu right here in controller config. If you have the option enabled, it will only occur when you press the left or right bumper, so you can still use the analog stick to freely rotate around. It's definitely not my cup of tea, but hey, it's cool they made this a toggleable option. There are also these things called hidden combos. The ones I use the most are where you double tap the square button and point your analog stick in one of the 4 cardinal directions. I didn't realize this game introduced double moves to the series, hell, even triples. Really cool stuff. I had issues with bailing due to my character just magically performing different moves with longer animations instead of the hidden combos, but hey, if Bam Margera wants to bail, I'm not telling him no. There's also some hidden grind combos, which are a nice touch. There was the inclusion of switching to a nollie or fakie stance, which you could do by pressing the left trigger. If you do this in normal stance, you can get into nollie stance, and if you do this in switch stance, you can get into fakie stance. Speaking of the switch stance, it's important to bring up mainly because in switch stance, you move slower and ollie lower than usual, depending on how much a skater has into their switch stat. However, to compensate for this, if you're in switch stance, you'll get more points for every trick you do. When you're in nollie form, you can get more points than you would if you were in regular form. However, if you're in fakie form, you can get some crazy high points due to you technically being in a switch stance. And if you have a skater switch stat all the way up, you'll basically be getting these points for free. That is, if you can focus on getting into a switch stance and fakie stance as much as you can within a combo. It's a really niche feature, but I really wish I knew about it when I was actually playing through career mode and struggling with some of the high score goals. I also want to discuss the balance bar for grinds and manuals, as they are very tough to manage in this game at first if you're used to Pro Skater 1 or 2's gameplay. First of all, in Pro Skater 1 and 2, there isn't even a balance bar for grinding. However, 3 changes that. Manualing wasn't introduced until Pro Skater 2, but it seems like during combos, it would reset. In Pro Skater 3, however, for your whole combo, the balance bar will be left at where it was when you finished the grind or manual. Next time you do a grind or manual in the same combo, the bar, it's in the same place. Sure, it makes the game a bit tougher, but it'll help to get used to this as the rest of the Tony Hawk games have this. It adds a memorization factor to the mix of button combos and combo route planning. It offers a new challenge, but for me it's a welcome inclusion to the game and the series. In this game it's kind of important how you land, but unlike previous Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, there's no perfect or sloppy landing bonus. Therefore you can land a bit sketchy, but it won't take points away from your score. So just making sure you actually land is the most important thing. There's also no more big drop feature in this game, which from what I've heard is a great decision. Now let's go ahead and segue into talking about special moves and the special bar. The special moves in this game are sick and as satisfying to pull off as ever. To obtain the special, you must fill up the meter in the top left by landing enough tricks. If you bail, your special meter will go back down. The special meter seems to give you a speed and ollie height increase, so keeping your special filled for as long as you can is very important. To do a special trick, you'll have to do a specific button combo for your special while in the air, grinding, or when doing a manual. If you pull this trick off, the glorious sounds of the gates of heaven opening up will ring throughout your ears. Each pro skater in this game has their own unique set of special moves, but you can change them if you want. To get more special move slots for a skater, you'll have to complete all goals of a level in a career mode with the respective skater. There are also secret unlockable characters I'll talk about later that have special moves associated with their character, like Wolverine here. Wolverine what? When it comes to the pro skater selection in this game, well, there are multiple different pro skaters at your disposal to skate with. You got skaters like Tony Hawk, Bucky Lasek, Andrew Reynolds, Rodney Mullen, Steve Caballero, Kareem Campbell, and even Bam Margera, who makes his first ever appearance in a Tony Hawk game. He's a fan favorite galore throughout the whole series. The lineup is grand, and you can pick whomever you want to play as whenever you want. You can select a pro skater or a unique unlockable skater once you've got them. There are some secret skaters from other renowned IPs like Darth Maul, and Wolverine even makes an appearance to Shred. It's an absolute dream for real, I can't escape them. To unlock these characters, you have to get all gold medals in each competition and complete all goals in each level with a specific amount of characters. I'll showcase all the unlockable characters here in the background and how to unlock them, and boy, they are all pretty cool. These skaters all have unique special moves associated with their character. For example, Wolverine has a claw drag manual and a berserker grind, while Darth Maul has some force-related special moves. Officer Dick can pull out a sick sobriety grind, and the Demoness has, well, some of these special moves can be transferred over to regular pro skaters, so if you want a Dark Jedi grind as Tony Hawk, well, you're in luck. I, however, wasn't able to put Wolverine's special moves on some regular pro skaters, so I assume some special characters don't allow this. I also love how when you have some of these unlockable characters selected in the skate shop, the Rasta guy in the background will react to them in a unique way. For example, if you have Wolverine selected, he'll look like he wants to scrap. If you have Private Carrera selected, well, he'll do whatever the heck this is.
Check you out. Checking me out. Checking you out. Checking me out. I'm checking you out.
If you select Ollie the Magic Bum, well, he looks repulsed. And for the Demoness, well, all of the secret characters have some sort of interaction with the Rasta guy in the background, other than the final unlockable character, and the hardest one to unlock, the Neversoft eyeball. Sad. Also, the Demoness has some really cool secret interactions. For example, if you're skating around with the Demoness in an ongoing combo, and you go by some pedestrians, well, she'll shrink them. Come on, that's awesome. You can also talk to the Thin Man in Suburbia with her, and he'll react way differently than he would if another skater approached him. Also, usually if you go into this door in Suburbia, well, you'll get a very haunting message. But if you do it with the Demoness, well, even with the grand amount of pro and unlockable skaters, this game lets you make your own custom skater with the Create a Skater option in the skate shop. I recreated myself by doing so. Let's just say the customization in this game is more in-depth compared to the previous installment of the series. Now that I mention it, there's a lot of customization in this game, from the types of tricks you can do and how you can change them on each skater, how your board looks, and you can even add some clothing items to pre-made pro skaters. Pretty cool stuff. Each skater has a preset of starting stats. spread out differently depending on how good they are in certain things in real life. And through each level in career mode, you can collect 5 stat points to increase the stats with. By the end of the career mode, if you collect all of the stat points, you can max out the specific skater you play through the career mode with. And boy, that makes them fun to play with. Also, one small thing I thought was charming is that if you're playing through the career mode with a unique unlockable character, the stat points will be renamed to fit in with that character's theme. For example, Darth Maul collects Force points, Wolverine collects Mutation points, Officer Dick collects Donut points, and so on. Every unlockable character has something like this, other than the Neversoft eyeball. Should I mention again how hard it is to unlock him? How sad. Man, I keep bringing up career mode. I think it's about time I start talking about it, as well as the amazing levels this game offers. Career mode is where you'll spend a majority of your time playing the game. Unless you're like me who played the Sean Palmer demo for a few hours. There are 9 levels to play through in the career mode, but in total there are 12 maps you can skate in. 3 of them are hidden unlockable ones that can only be played in free skate or single session mode. The 3 hidden unlockable levels are the Warehouse, Burnside, and Roswell. I absolutely love the classic map that is the Warehouse. Burnside is such a cool street map with so much history to it, and Roswell is absolutely badass in this game, and easily the coolest secret level. Like, aliens, bro, come on. It's a huge improvement from the previous Roswell, as the graphics are better thanks to newer gen consoles allowing more to be done with these levels. You can unlock these 3 maps by completing career mode fully with all gold medals and all goals completed with a certain amount of characters. Yeah, it's a grind, but come on, skating in Roswell and Burnside has never been better. 3 levels you'll play through in career mode are competition levels. In these levels, you'll have 3 rounds to nail some sick tricks and get a high score to place in the competition. If you bail anytime during one of these runs, your score can be lowered, so it's important to keep that in mind. Depending on how you do in the competition, you can get a bronze, silver, or gold medal. If you don't get any of these placements, well, you'll get laughed at, and it's not delightful. You'll definitely want to aim for getting gold medals with each skater, as these can help you unlock the secret characters and levels, along with completing all of the goals with each skater, like I mentioned earlier. 6 of the levels you can play through in career mode are goal-based levels, and these include the Foundry, Canada, Suburbia, the Airport, Los Angeles, and the secret level, the Cruise Ship. The main focus of these levels is to complete the goals the game lists to you when you first load up the level. You'll have 2 minutes in each level to complete as many goals as you can. All of the goals in each level follow a similar structure. For one goal, you'll have to obtain a high score, a pro score, and a sick score. The skate letters make a bold return, and you'll have to collect those as well to complete a goal. You'll have to find a secret tape, which is hidden in the level. There's also a photo goal that involves you doing a specific trick on a specific object or gap. There's usually 2 chaos or crime stopping goals. And then there's a number oriented goal, where you'll either have to grind some valves to unjam them like you do in the Foundry, impress some skaters in Canada, or even some Neversoft girls on the cruise ship, or you might be stopping some pickpockets in the airport. These goals are wacky, fun, and charming, and illegal, depending on what the goal is. For example, in the Foundry, the first level you'll play through, the game gives you a goal to grind a molten lava bucket. When you do so, a cutscene plays out and shows the molten lava bucket falling into a pit of lava, causing havoc amongst the factory crew. In Los Angeles, you can start an earthquake by grinding 4 specific rails, but in turn it helps you stop a car chase. Trust me, you'll want to stop this car chase, this stupid van is annoying. And in the secret level, the cruise ship, you can destroy a museum by destroying these support cables that hold a fan up, which in turn causes a Rube Goldberg effect to where an innocent pedestrian gets flung into the ocean below. While these goals are rather tame compared to what we'll do later on in the Tony Hawk series, this was the first appearance of wacky destruction goals like this, and I'm all for it. I love how a lot of these goals can also alter the skating environment, making you adapt to the chaos you just caused. Once you complete all of the goals within a goal-oriented level, you will unlock 1 extra special trick slot for the respective skater you completed all the goals with, which is an incentive to make sure you complete every goal in each level. When it comes to the level design, well, these levels are just immaculate to skate through. They all offer amazing vert and street sections to offer various different types of gameplay, to where you can seamlessly integrate a street combo into a vert, all thanks to the revert feature of course. I had an absolute blast skating through levels like the Foundry, Canada, Suburbia, and pretty much every single map, just because of how unique, chock full of charm, and intricately designed they are. They turn these regular everyday areas into skating sandboxes, and I always applaud how Neversoft was able to do this with any level they've ever made. Almost each level has a secret area where you can skate around in, and some objects and levels allow you to alter environments if you skate on them. and it's just some of the most fun I've had skating in any of the levels in any Tony Hawk game. Hell, there's this guy who is constantly peeing here in Canada, and you can knock him off if you do a lip trick here, because why not? There are many hidden sections and levels that I just had a blast trying to find for this video. Each level has 5 stat points that will be around the map like I mentioned before, but they also have a collectible deck. If you collect the deck, you'll be able to equip a new deck specific to the skater you're playing as back in the skate shop. I gotta say, the decks being based around each skater is really interesting to me. It's interesting to me because as someone who didn't know too much about skating before I really dived into this game, it was kind of cool looking into the brands each skater were associated with at the time. Birdhouse was founded by Tony Hawk himself and Per Willander, who were members of Powell Peralta in 1992, and they offer skateboard equipment and accessories. Andrew Reynolds has Baker decks for every single option. Baker was founded by Andrew Reynolds and Jay Strickland in the year 2000. They make different things such as boards, flannels, socks, and even lunch boxes. Yes, lunch boxes, that's outstanding. Bam Margera has some of his own themed decks and an Element deck, which I think is important to mention as I remember Element being the main brand I remembered as a kid for some reason. But sadly they filed for bankruptcy earlier this year on February 2nd. Bucky Lasek was big into skating. Of course he was. Bucky Lasek was big into racing, so he has race-themed decks. And he was sponsored by both Element and Powell Peralta. Rodney Mullen has his fair share of Enjoy decks with the panda on many of them, and Enjoy Skateboards was founded by Rodney Mullen and Mark Johnson in 2000. You can thank my older brother for getting me a lot of this information. I find this stuff fascinating as it shows how huge skateboarding was, with sponsors and these skaters creating their own brands and whatnot. It's really amazing stuff. And even for the unlockable skaters, their deck designs match the theme of their character. Like Wolverine has some comic designs of himself on his decks, Officer Dick has donuts and anti-cop imagery, and Ollie the Magic Bum has, well, whatever you want to call this aesthetic. I just love this. It really ties back into how customizable this game is. Each level also has some gaps, and these gaps have either some weird or funky name. I can assume some of these are inside jokes. Apparently some of these gaps count as Neversoft challenges. These gaps are pretty tough to do, but ultimately, they aren't really marked in-game on what's a Neversoft challenge or not, and they don't give you anything cool, but they can offer a rewarding feeling once you accomplish them. Now with this game, there's a huge emphasis on replayability. It helps that the gameplay is very fun, and the levels are some of the best in the series. But to unlock some hidden unlockable content like the special skaters and levels, you'll have to go through the career mode multiple times with all of the different skaters. This means finishing all the goals and getting gold in all of the competitions again and again. Luckily the game and its goals aren't statically set. For example, depending on which character you're playing as, there will be some things altered in each level. There can be a few different sets of skate letters that can be placed within a level depending on which skater you're playing as. The same goes for stat points and decks. Also, the photo-oriented goal each level has also has a chance to be different depending on the skater you're playing as. For example, in the Foundry I had to 50-50 grind this rail with Bam Margera, but with Darth Maul I had to cannonball over this half-pipe. There's only 2 sets of different ones for each character, probably due to if the character is mainly a vert character or street character. It keeps the gameplay loop somewhat fresh, and it combats against a robotic gameplay loop, which as a completionist I appreciate a lot. Also, every time you complete the game with a pro skater, you unlock a pro video associated with them. Bam has an absolute hoot of a pro video, Tony Hawk shows you around his home and has some footage of his kid skating, and Rodney Mullen's iconic video makes an appearance as well. I just love how the game rewards you with these videos. It gives you an insight with who you just went through the career mode as, and shows you some of that skater's personality. I think it's also important to mention Kelly Slater has his own pro video, despite being an unlockable character. And it's a sick surfing video that also acts as promotion for Neversoft's new game at the time, Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer. Of course, all of these pro videos have an outstanding song from this game's iconic soundtrack, which has to be my next talking point. While you're skating in the airport or through suburbia, songs like CKY's 96 Quite Bitter Beings or Motorhead's Ace of Spades will be blaring through your speakers. Whether you're listening to Guttermouth vocalizing about how much they want to destroy the world, all behind a bluegrass-themed instrumental, or listening to AFI while stopping the pickpockets in the airport, this game and its soundtrack unlocks some sort of deep vault within my brain. I can't even explain it. The whole soundtrack will be listed here, but the 2 songs I just mentioned barely scrape the surface of how this game influenced my music taste later on in life. Songs like The Adolescent's Amoeba, or even songs like Exhibit's Paparazzi are some of my favorites from a Pro Skater game to this day. Now that I mention it, this is probably my favorite Pro Skater soundtrack to this day. It's just so euphoric skating through some of these iconic set pieces and locations with these iconic songs that hold a special place in my heart. Now when it comes to the grind of the game, I know nowadays for some people it's not so appealing, but don't you worry as this game has cheat codes. The cool thing about these cheat codes is that you can unlock them depending on how many times you've gone through the career mode, completing all goals, and getting gold in all competitions with each skater. If you don't want to do that, you can just input a cheat in the options menu here, and it'll give you all of these unlockable cheats. All of these fun modes are fun to mess around with, and the game continues to reward you by going through the career mode with each skater, even though you've already unlocked all of the secret skaters by this point. There are also cheat codes to help you unlock all of the skaters, all of the stats or decks on your selected character, and all of the unlockable movies as well. There are also some hidden create a skater names you can input after you input this cheat in the options menu, and a lot of them are Neversoft developers, which is pretty cool. You can also play as Tony Hawk's children if you want, just something I thought I should mention because, wow, there's a lot to this game. And did you know you can do taunts? Just load up a level, hold down both bumpers, and press either square, triangle, or circle to do so. I didn't even know this was a thing until after I finished this video. It's such a small and hidden feature, but I had to include it because it just overall ties into the main theme. Speaking of the main theme for this video, I could go on for hours about the skateboarding game from 24 years ago and how it's charming, fun, and era-defining. But I think just from what I've talked about, I've made my point. This game is one of the highest rated games of all time, and yeah, I can see why it is. I couldn't put this dang game down for about 2 weeks. Skating in Suburbia with Chad Muska just kept calling my name, or Burnside with Bucky Lassick. Not to mention the cruise ship with Kelly Slater, I could go on and on. You can tell from the unlockable videos that these developers put so much charm, effort, and love into this game. Hell, most of them even tried skateboarding or skateboard themselves, as you can see from these unlockable videos. Some even had some devastating bails like this guy on the ramp. Poor dude. This game oozes replayability. It's a dopamine hit that never fails to get me going on a rough day. For a lot of Tony Hawk fans, this is the crown jewel of the series, and many start to believe the series had a falling off after Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. And while I can't agree with that statement, I see what they mean. This is the last game with this sort of classic mode being the main driving point of it. And while I appreciate what Neversoft did with the games after it, I think they also understood that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and the style of it was the absolute height of what it could be. It's a perfect game to some, and at the time it was released, you could easily make the case for it being so. I really wish I wouldn't compare it to the games that came ahead of it, but some of the features that future games introduced would have been so nice to have in this one, like the spine transfer or even the ability to get off your board. The amount of times I failed a combo because I couldn't level myself out, well, it made the game pretty challenging to get used to without that feature as well. Not to mention the accidental sour finger flips I would accidentally do twice as some characters because why not? You're 1 foot from the ground, let's do another one. Still, I can't find a negative about the game itself. I could compare it to the future ones, but that just isn't fair. For what the game is, it took an era and capitalized on it in the best way possible, with love and care. This game screams early 2000s for me, and even though I wasn't a part of that era, I feel like I could experience it in the skateboarding craze just by playing this game alone. This is reflected in every aspect, from the gameplay, the crazy and chaotic career mode goals, the customization, and even the soundtrack, or the unlockable pro videos. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's shorter than what I'm used to, but this has always been a game I've wanted to make a video over. I want to give a big shout out to my older brother Brandon, who basically introduced me to many of the games that defined my childhood, this one being included. He also helped me with some of the information you guys heard in this video, as he knows way more about skating than I do. Love you, big bro, and thank you for your help. If you guys enjoyed, liking and subscribing would mean wonders to me. Be sure to check out my other videos if you're interested as well, as I'll be posting retrospectives over older games I played on the PS2 as a kid. So be on the lookout to see if your favorite game has been covered. Even if you don't, your view on this video is highly appreciated and means a lot to me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and as always, peace out.